Hello, Colorado. It's time for Rise and Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we talk to people from across the country about things you could do right here in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, we got this.
Fortunately, high blood pressure can lead to lots of health problems. The way I think about it is that we have blood vessels throughout our entire body. And
we just pulled some rhubarb out of our garden, fresh lime. This is our ready-to-drink strawberry rhubarb and a zest of lime.
All of that and more right here on Rise and Unwind. What do you get when you mix couture chaos, murder in paradise, and a comeback wedding with secrets that could pretty much kill? It's another simple favor. It's the long-awaited sequel that reunites Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively for another round of sharp wit, killer fashion, and even deadlier twists, this time in Capri. Joining the cast is Tony winner Alex Newell, who plays Vicky, Stephanie's fierce and fabulous book agent. Welcome to the show, Alex. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
This sequel, it brings back a lot of wild energy from the original, but now we're in Capri with even more secrets and high fashion. What's it like stepping into the deliciously chaotic world?
Amazing. And I get to be in Capri. Who doesn't want that? And oh God, that backdrop is gorgeous.
From Shucked on Broadway to a Paul Feig thriller in Italy, you've been booked and busy. What drew you to Another Simple Favor, and how did it feel to collaborate with this ensemble?
You know, when my agent texted me and said, "Hey, do you want your White Lotus moment?" I was like, absolutely. And she said, well, Paul is directing the sequel of A Simple Favor and wants you to come on out to Capri and play this role. And I was so honored because I'd worked with Paul on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist before. And so to come back and be actually directed by him and work with this incredible ensemble was just a dream come true. Everybody was so lovely.
And the movie blends comedy, mystery, and a little bit of glam, sometimes all pretty much in the same scene. What was your favorite moment in the film, or one that you think that you will always remember?
Oh my goodness. My favorite moment from the film that I think that entrance to Capri, the boat ride into it. I think that was just breathtakingly beautiful, just riding in onto it. Ugh.
And between the twists, the couture, and the cast, chemistry, what do you think will surprise audiences the most this time around?
The chaos. I mean, there is so much happening that you don't get a break from it. I think that's what they'll really take from it, but also kind of like what friendship is. I think we all have that frenemy and that friend that we all like to jab at and talk to, but we love them regardless.
Alex, thanks for joining me this morning. You should check out Another Simple Favor. It's available now on Amazon Prime. It's not every day you see daughters planning their mom's wedding, but that is exactly what this new series is all about. Mom the Bride flips the script and follows women helping their moms celebrate love later in life, from dress fittings to the big day itself. Erin Cahill hosts the series on Hallmark Plus, and she's joining us now. Erin, it's great to see you. How are you?
Hi, it's great to see you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, this idea really flips the traditional mother of the bride role, but what stood out to you in this concept?
Oh, well, what you just said, it's really flipping the script on weddings. We're used to seeing, it's right there in the intro. We're used to seeing moms plan their daughters' weddings, but to see the daughters have the opportunity to do this for their mothers is honestly one of the sweetest things I've ever experienced in my life.
And each episode, it follows a different family. What kind of stories or moments can viewers expect to see?
Well, so it's 6 real mothers and daughters, 6 real weddings. And what you can expect to see is everything you would anticipate with a wedding. The excitement, the stress, but also like inspiration and joy. And you can expect surprises in every episode. We really set our mind to surprising the brides and the families. And it is such a joy-filled ride, and it's all the emotions. That's the other thing you can expect. You can expect happiness, tears, laughter, and being really touched.
And you mentioned there's a lot of emotion packed into this. What surprised you the most while working with these moms and daughters?
I was pleasantly surprised at how much it meant to everybody. I knew, in my heart that would be the case, but to see these daughters just want to get it so right for their moms, and then to see the moms letting go of the steering wheel, and saying, okay, yes, take care of me for once. Thank you. Was just so special. It honestly, it's such an honor and a joy to be part of this with them. Oh, like I will never forget it. I'll never stop being grateful. I'm not over it. We were filming for 6 months and I'm not over it.
And you've been part of so many Hallmark projects. How does hosting a series like this compare to acting in one?
Oh, I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I've never done anything, you know, unscripted in this way. And so to get to, you know, to get to go to work every day. I say work because it was such a joy, but to get to go to work and be part of this. I mean, I got to like, you know, go to like cake tastings and dress fittings and go to pick out venues. And it was such a blast. It didn't feel like work. It just truly felt like a gift. And I fell in love with each one of these families so purely. So by the time the weddings came around, I was like,
And the show really celebrates love a little later in life and
Yes.
family connection. What do you hope people take away after watching?
oh, I love that. You know, I hope that people feel inspired by what you just said, that connection, that family bond. I hope people feel, you know, mothers and daughters for sure. Of course, I hope you know, you get related back to your own love and you're like, oh, you want to call your mom and say, I love you. Or, you know, mothers call their daughters and say, I love you. But really it's about the whole family. I hope that people just feel so inspired about love and connection and family and celebrating that.
Erin, Cahill, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Mom's the Bride is now streaming on Hallmark Plus, so you can watch the full series pretty much any time you feel. All right, Erin, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
A quiet little town, a substitute sheriff, and a bank robbery that turns into something way bigger than anybody expected. You know, that's the setup for Normal, the new neo-Western thriller starring Bob Odenkirk. He joins us to talk about playing Sheriff Ulysses, working with director Ben Wheatley, and why this story keeps taking turns you don't see coming. Welcome to the show, Bob. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good to see you.
All right. What grabbed you first about Normal? Was it the character, the mystery, or just
it was exactly that. It was the mystery. You know, a lot of action films, they start with the action as quick as possible and then they just stay in action as much as possible with very little character development or story. But this story that Derek Kolstad told me about a small town in the Midwest, and they have money and there's no obvious reason why, and then it all explodes and we learn their secret. I love this story. I love the mystery sequence, which is the first 35 minutes. And then, of course, it's pure action for the rest of the film. I just like the story, the character development, the way in which it's kind of like 3 or 4 films in one. And so I said, let's do that one. Let's try to make that happen. We were very lucky to get Ben Wheatley, a great director who's made many films, Free Fire, High Rise, Kill List, a lot of action films, but he always has character in all of his films, a lot of people that you can relate to. And so he was the perfect man for the job.
And Sheriff Ulysses, it feels like somebody's just trying to keep it together while everybody around him is kind of unraveling. What did you enjoy most about playing that character?
Well, I like playing a guy who's my age. Now that doesn't sound like much to you, but I was Saul Goodman for, you know, essentially 8 or 9 years. And Saul was younger than me by a lot. He was 10, 15 years younger than me. And I like playing Ulysses in the movie Normal because Ulysses has seen a lot of life and he's a little bit worn down by it. And I related to the guy. I liked him. And I liked his sense of humor. He had a smile. Things made him laugh. And so, yeah, I like playing the character.
And this movie has this grounded small town feel, but there's a lot of tension that's just like bubbling underneath the surface.
Yeah.
What was it like building that tone with Ben Wheatley?
That's the part that I worked on the most. And it's one of the reasons I get a story by credit on this film is because I helped build out the story of that small town. Normal is the actual name of a town, Normal, Illinois. And the movie was originally called The Interim, as in interim sheriff, part-time sheriff, or, you know, fill-in sheriff. And I said, let's call it Normal, because that's the kind of town And Derek knew what I was talking about because he's from Wisconsin. That's the kind of town in the Midwest that we want to describe. These small towns they've been hit pretty hard by the economy in the last 40 years. They lost their factory. They have factory farms that have taken over the smaller farms. And I wanted to tell the story of one of those towns that's somehow chanced upon this money.
And once the audience settle into this story, it kind of starts escalating in a lot of unexpected ways. What are you most excited for people to experience when they start to watch it?
Well, it's really a fun movie to watch with a group. If you're going to rent normal, have some people over, have some friends over. The way in which the story shifts, as you point out, it changes. It's like tectonic plates shifting. The whole vision of what you're looking at becomes a different world. And all those moments where what happens to Henry Winkler and what happens with the champagne cork and what happens after that, those things get the audience going. Those are things to experience with a group. It's been a great fun film to watch with other people.
All right, I really enjoyed the movie. It was such a blast. I had a fun time with that. Normal is available now on all digital platforms and will be available anywhere you rent movies. Bob, I want to thank you for joining me today, my friend.
Yeah, man, good to be here. Thanks.
Most people think it could never happen to them until somebody suddenly takes over a property and the legal process turns into a total nightmare. A&E's series Squatters follows Flash Shelton and his team as they help homeowners reclaim their homes in some pretty tense and emotional situations. Flash pretty much first got in this world after dealing with some squatters in his own family home, and now he's helping people across the country. Welcome to the show, Flash. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, your story started when squatters took over your mom's home. What was that experience like for your whole family?
You know, I kept it from my family actually, until later, but I couldn't tell my mom. My dad had just passed away, and I moved her in with me to sell her home and to help her have a fresh start and, closer to family. But, navigating that situation and learning all about squatters is what I needed to do to just be the good son. And my family, I couldn't tell my mom. She was still distraught over my dad. I just told her that I needed a lease so I could go up and be on the property to do some repairs. And, it was successful. I learned a lot about squatters and I out-squatted them. I figured if they could take a house, I could take a house.
And now that the show is out, what kind of reaction have you been getting from some of the viewers?
Everyone's excited. And, I think that the fact that the awareness is, it's teaching people what a squatter is and that they are normal people. They are just entitled and figured, that there's a flaw in the system. They should be able to take advantage of it. I think, people truly understanding that squatters are not homeless people. So squatters and a homeless in a housing crisis have nothing to do with each other.
And some of these situations on the series tend to be really intense. Was there one case in the season that surprised even you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a case where, there's several people and, I'm always hearing that, they're drug dealers or they're, committing crimes on the property or something. And, a lot of times it's, I have to look into it and I don't find any evidence of that. But in other cases, we just have to go in extremely careful. I don't want anyone to get hurt, including a squatter. So I think that the fact that, it's just, there are different types of cases every single day and different stories. So at this point, it's like, I don't know that anything surprises me.
And what do most people misunderstand about the squatting laws and how difficult these situations can become for homeowners?
I think that there is a misconception about squatter laws and tenant laws. Tenant laws in a lot of states were written under the, guides that a homeowner is rich and a tenant is poor. But anyone who owns a home knows that just because you own a mortgage doesn't make you rich. And tenants are not all poor. Some people just choose to rent. So, it's I think that there's a misconception about the laws themselves and the fact that there is no line between a squatter and a tenant. So squatters are assuming tenant rights.
And after helping in more than 100 cases, what advice would you give homeowners to help protect themselves before something like this happens to them?
Documentation, like being able to document when an intruder enters and how they enter. In today's day and age, there is no excuse not to have a camera that you can monitor from your phone anywhere in the world. When somebody walks up your driveway, you get alerted. When somebody goes into your mailbox, you get alerted. If you can monitor when they enter, they are now arrested as a trespasser and they will never become your squatter.
Flash Shelton, I really want to thank you for joining me today. You can catch episodes of Squatters now on A&E with streaming available on the A&E app and at anetv.com. Flash, thanks for joining me again today.
All right, thanks for having me.
A lot of action franchises try to go bigger every time, but Jack Ryan Ghost War is also digging into trust, loyalty, and what service really costs. The new film continues the world's fans already know while standing on its own for people jumping in fresh. And joining us today is the legendary Wendell Pierce, who returns as James Greer. Wendell, it's great to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, James Greer has always been one of the most grounded characters in this world. What do you enjoy most about stepping back into him for Ghost War?
The character of James Greer really reflects some of the people that I met doing the research of this character. You know, real CIA officers, retired, who have kind of given me their true north to form a more perfect union, and some of the debate that they have within the agency, and but understanding that the shared idealism of working on the mission, which is to form a more perfect union and protect that. You know, those are shared values. And so stepping back into the role, that's the thing that I'd love to portray. You know, as an actor, you're a student of human behavior. And what you want to do is create the world so strong that it induces that behavior. And that's the great thing about reliving a role like James Greer.
One thing John Krasinski mentioned is that the story works for both longtime fans and for people who've never watched the series. Was that something you felt like while you were making it too?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be familiar with the series at all. You can come to this fresh. You will see the history that we have as characters. You will see our relationship. You will see our expertise. And then also you have this story of what's happening now, this casual act that I ask a favor of Jack Ryan to do for me that actually ignites a global espionage chase. And so it is one of those things that people who have seen the series can come to and appreciate the next level of where we take the characters, and people who come to this fresh and new. But what we do over the course of a series, put into a 2-hour movie, is just heightened and it makes it a lot more intense.
And you said it's been heightened, it's more cinematic, a little bigger, but it also keeps the political and moral tensions that Tom Clancy's stories are known for. What kind of balance does this film strike between action and some of the character?
Well, you know, I think it's very important. I'm very proud of the fact that we keep the debate happening about the clarity of mission and clarity of what values are, and the political debate that happens around that, because that is happening within the world, what happens within the agency, and it makes you, as the viewer, look at it and decide what your values are. You know, I mean, that's the forum of what filmmaking should be about, the place where we collectively come together, reflect on who we are, decide where we want to go, decide what our values are, maybe bring that into our lives. And so I love that we have that debate, and at the same time have some of the best cinematic thrill sequences of action comparable to the French Connection and Marathon Man and all of that. You know, so I'm very proud of the cinematic and the debate that happens within the film.
And fans, they know you from so many incredible roles from over the years, but there's something about Greer that people really connect with. What do you think keeps audiences invested in this character and this franchise?
I try to make James Greer a everyman. that people look at it and go, there but by the grace of God go I. That they can see themselves in James Greer. He's a man of pragmatism. He's a family man. He's flawed as he tries and did not succeed in keeping his family together. But with all of that, he is principled. And he attempts to hang on to his principles and values. And people will see themselves in that, Not someone who's perfect, but someone who's pragmatic and at least tries to live by some sort of moral code. And that's who we all are, and that's who we are when we dream of who we can become. So that's the thing that makes him prescient, and personal. And that's what I pride myself on when I try to portray him.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. Jack Ryan, Ghost War premieres May 20th on Prime Video. Wendell Pierce, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
As someone who spent time behind a bar, I can tell you summer cocktails can either feel effortless or turn into someone muddling fruit for 20 minutes straight while the party keeps going without them. This year, one of the biggest trends is flavor matchmaking. Easy drink pairings that fit the mood without making entertaining feel complicated. Joining us now is Geoff Dillon, founder of Dillon Small Batch Distillers. Hi, Geoff. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Kayla.
So, Geoff, bartender to distiller here. When you say flavor matchmaking, what does that actually mean?
I think we're using the term flavor matchmaking to really compare pairing a drink with a moment. And we're in Niagara. We're in this amazing fruit growing region. The moment for us right now is this upcoming summer.
And my dear, what are a few flavor combinations that instantly feel like summer to you right now?
I honestly just lean on our neighbors. So we've got an amazing strawberry growing operation across the street. We just pulled some rhubarb out of our garden, fresh lime. This is our ready to drink strawberry rhubarb and a zest of lime. It's got the sweetness from the strawberries, the tartness from the rhubarb, and that acidity from the lime. It's just an awesome summer cocktail.
And I think people want drinks that feel elevated but still easy to make at home. What are some simple ways to pull that off?
This one I can help you with. I spent a good decade doing the wrong thing. I think being a distiller and people, at least I thought people expected from me over-the-top cocktails that would take 10 minutes, like you said at the top. I've learned that's not the right way. A good host should be a relaxed host. I'm now building a garnish bar at the beginning, letting people garnish their own cocktails. So people can pour their pre-chilled cans into a glass, garnish with whatever they like. They feel like they're part of it. It feels elevated, and it frees me up to actually have a good party.
And from your perspective, what separates a really good summer cocktail pairing from one that's trying too hard?
It's certainly balance. I mean, as a distiller here, we're thinking about balance every day, whether it's in the back actually making the spirits or in the front making the cocktails. Summer, we want less sugar, less sweet. We want more acid. And here we love to do a little bit of a botanical herbal load in there in the background of some complexity. But getting that balance right is everything, I think, in both cocktails and in life.
And my friend, where can viewers go if they want more ideas or inspiration?
You can check us out over at dillonsmallbatch.com. We've got a locator there to find stores in Colorado that stock our product. And of course, you can learn more about our cocktails there.
Geoff Dillon, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Kayla.
High blood pressure affects millions of older adults, but a lot of people don't realize they have it until it starts causing bigger health problems. During National High Blood Pressure Education Month, there's a renewed push to help people understand the warning signs and long-term risks tied to untreated hypertension. Joining us this morning is Dr. Ahmed Mohiuddin, Senior Medical Director with Oak Street Health, part of CVS Health. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you.
High blood pressure is often called a silent condition. Why is it so easy for people to miss the signs or not even realize they have it?
You know, we call high blood pressure the silent condition, or sometimes even the silent killer, because most people don't know that they have symptoms at all. They think that they have to have chest pain or shortness of breath or headaches, and if they don't have those things, they're okay, where in fact most people don't have any symptoms at all. So unless you're getting screened by your doctor or checking your blood pressure at home, you wouldn't know that you're having this high blood pressure that's causing damage in your body.
What are some of the common myths or misunderstandings older adults still have when it comes to managing blood pressure?
You know, there's a few misconceptions about high blood pressure. So the first of all, just to reiterate, is that people feel like they have to have symptoms in order to have high blood pressure, whereas again, most people don't have any symptoms at all. The second misconception that I see a lot is that people think that because they have a family history, they see their parents or their grandparents with high blood pressure, and they think it's just an inevitability, a matter of time before they themselves have high blood pressure as well, where in fact there's lots of things that we can do to prevent high blood pressure or treat it when we have it. And then the third misconception, some people need medicines to treat high blood pressure. There's this misconception that's out there that people think that all medicines have side effects and you're kind of relegated to a life of side effects for the rest of your life after you start on medicines, where in fact you can work with your doctor. There's lots of medicines that we can tailor your approach and get you to a really well-tolerated regimen for medications.
If high blood pressure goes untreated, what kind of health problems can it lead to over time?
Yeah, unfortunately, high blood pressure can lead to lots of health problems. The way I think about it is that we have blood vessels throughout our entire body, and pressure is literally, it's higher pressure throughout those blood vessels. So if you have higher pressure to the blood vessels that go to your kidneys, we can cause kidney disease over time. If we have high blood pressure that goes to the blood vessels to your heart, it can cause heart disease or even a heart attack. And then the blood vessels that go to your brain, if it's high enough, it can cause a stroke. But even if not, over time, it can cause dementia even.
All right, for someone trying to get their blood pressure under control, what are some practical steps that can make the biggest difference?
Yeah, fortunately, there's lots of things that we can do to prevent high blood pressure or manage it if we have it. So first of all, I would talk about nutrition. So eating fresh fruits and vegetables is really important, limiting your salt intake, and then limiting your processed or ultra-processed foods, so things in boxes or bags, is really important for limiting for decreasing your high blood pressure. When you do eat those processed foods, look at the labels. You want to reduce the amount of sodium intake that you have. That's really important for preventing high blood pressure. Secondly, I would say exercise, cardiovascular exercise. I tell people to do what they enjoy, whether that's walking or biking or swimming, whatever it might be, so long as it gets your heart beating, is really important, regardless if it changes your weight at all, is important for preventing high blood pressure. And then lastly, we kind of generally know, we hear let's get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. It's really important. Not all of us are getting that. I think focusing on that sleep, getting 7 to 8 hours for most adults of quality sleep, and then managing your stress is really important as well. Talking to your doctor, some people do need medicines, but getting on the right medication regimen can be really important. All this really can seem like a lot, but getting the right care team can really help you tackle all these head on.
If viewers want more information about high blood pressure or healthy aging, where can they go?
Yeah, first of all, I'd go to oakstreethealth.com. Go to our website. You can give us a call as well, 888-744-6392 to learn more.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for the great tips.
Thanks so much.
And that's it for Rise and Unwind, Colorado. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. If you want to find out more about our show, go to our website. That's riseunwindtv.com. We're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. That's where you can get some behind-the-scenes photos and maybe some additional interviews. We're also on YouTube. That is at Rise Unwind for all of the above. And until next week, that was the show we like to call Rise and Unwind, Colorado.